Ethics of War: The Environmental Impacts and Ethical Considerations by Marco Mena. So, the introduction to the ethics of wars talks about how war affects the environment in various ways, from complete destruction to long-term ecological damage. And the caveat to that is that war affects us in ways we don't know, and for the most part, it has some unforeseen consequences, and how it also impacts humans and the natural ecosystem as they suffer the most due to direct and indirect impact. The environmental impacts of war is that it causes physical destruction, mainly within forests and cities, and how they are destroyed mainly due to being caught in the crossfire during military operations, and how it mainly affects innocent bystanders who have no involvement in whatsoever, and how it also tends to destroy infrastructures, and how this is done through strategic attacks and bombings with the intent of causing disruption, mainly to prevent the flow of supplies and humanitarian aid from coming in. And aside from that, pollution is one of the common concerns about war, is that as it exposes people to chemicals and heavy metals, and how the exposure is mainly caused through military presence, and how it's unknowingly leaked into the ecosystem, and that affects the soil and water sources and air quality, and how most of this is done without us knowing, which is really dangerous because we don't know what kind of chemicals or the side effects of being exposed to these chemicals and metals will be. How the ethical perspectives of war and the environmental impacts is that how this begs the question how war is approached based on ethics and overall environmental consequences that was caused based on a couple theories. And how the just war theory is based on morality that establishes how war should be approached and how human lives and the environment should be taken into consideration into warfare, as as are the long-term effects worth the instant gratification, as this will only cause damage for years, and how the utilitarian perspective, the idea where actions are justified as the benefits outweigh the cost through military objectives, and how like some countries are willing to outweigh what the costs are because they are mainly interested in what benefits them, but it comes at the cost of harming the environment and harming innocent bystanders who had no involvement in it whatsoever. And how the environmental ethics is also another idea, as it fits into the idea that we should protect ecosystems during war, and whether or not it should be prioritized. But this is an overall concern that we need to focus on, as war destroys almost every aspect of the environment, and it's really dangerous. And how there's international laws and environmental protection of war. The aftermath of war has always been devastating, and how many have come to the conclusion that there needed to be reforms, which led to the implementation of international laws. And how one of the biggest one that was started was the Geneva Convention. How it provides protection to those regardless of their status during wartime, and saw major reforms in the aftermath of World War II. Uh, One of the most common concerns during war is all these humanitarian problems, as there was a lot of things that were being done that were unethical, and how every country slowly started to pick it up on them, and they saw like that there needed to be reform, as it wasn't a viable option, and how the NMOD is another one. It was a treaty to prevent countries from using weapons that can spark environmental change, as they have unforeseen consequences. And the main reason why this was implemented is to prevent countries from using weapons that alter the environment, as there are some unforeseen consequences when using weapons that change the environment. as we don't know what the long-term effects are and how it will affect our daily lives. And these are some questions to discuss. One of them is, which are the following ways that war affects biodiversity, and what ways does war contribute to climate change? Conclusion: looking forward, war has become a profound force that has reshaped nations and their societies as their environments are destroyed, which have lasting consequences. And now more than ever, nations are looking at the ethical environmental costs. Looking forward, there has to be agreements between nations as they need to be held accountable, as we need to aim for global sustainability